Maria and Jake found Lisa and Tony in the cave system just after midnight. The two soldiers were tired and scared, but alive. They had been taking turns watching for the creatures that stalked them constantly. "We thought you were dead," Lisa said, hugging Maria. "I was for a while. Now it's their turn." Maria spread out the weapons she had made: sharpened spears, explosive traps, and something special she had created from the ship's communication equipment. "This device can mimic their clicking language," she explained. "I learned enough of their words to send false messages. We can make them think their own pack members are calling for help." Tony picked up one of the spears. "You want us to fight? Those things with pointed sticks?" "No. I want us to hunt them like they hunted us, one at a time. Make them afraid. Turn their own tactics against them." Maria had studied the creatures for days. She knew they patrolled in pairs. She knew their routes. Most importantly, she knew they had never been hunted before. "Here's what we do," she said, drawing a map in the dirt. "There's a narrow canyon about 2 kilometers south, only one way in, one way out. 2 of them patrol through there every night, around 3 a.m. The plan was simple but dangerous. Maria would use the communication device to send a distress call in the alien language. When the patrol came to investigate, the team would attack from above. "What if it doesn't work?" Lisa asked. "Then we die fighting instead of hiding." They moved through the jungle silently. Maria's legs still hurt, but she could keep up. The team reached the canyon and took positions on the rocky walls above the narrow passage. At exactly 3 a.m., Maria activated the device. It sent out clicking sounds that meant "help" and "trapped" in the alien language. Then they waited. 15 minutes later, 2 creatures appeared at the canyon entrance. They moved cautiously, sniffing the air and listening for danger. But they were looking for threats on the ground, not from above. Jake dropped the first explosive device. It landed right between the 2 aliens and exploded in a flash of light and heat. Both creatures were thrown against the canyon walls. One didn't get up. The other was wounded but still alive. It tried to call for help, but Tony's spear found its throat before it could make a sound. 2 down, Maria said quietly. 6 to go. They moved the bodies and cleaned up the evidence. When the rest of the pack found this place, they would know. Their pack members had disappeared, but not how or why. Over the next 3 days, Maria's team struck 4 more times. They used different tactics each time: explosive traps hidden on patrol routes, sniper attacks from impossible angles, ambushes that appeared and vanished like ghosts. Each attack followed the same pattern: strike fast, kill quickly, leave no evidence. The creatures began to understand that something was hunting them. By the 5th day, only 3 aliens remained. The scarred leader, Kreshitar, and 2 others. Maria could hear them calling to each other across the jungle. Their clicks sounded different now, worried, confused. They had never been prey before. Time for the final hunt, Maria told her team. She had saved the best location for last, a clearing near the crashed ship where several game trails met. The aliens would have to come through this area if they wanted to search for their missing pack members. The team spent hours preparing. They dug hidden pits and covered them with branches. They rigged explosive charges in the trees. They created multiple escape routes in case things went wrong. Then they used the communication device to send one final message. This time, Maria made it sound like one of the dead aliens calling for the pack leader. A desperate cry for help that no leader could ignore. Just before sunset, Kreshitar appeared at the edge of the clearing. The old, scarred leader was alone. He had sent his last 2 pack members away to safety while he investigated personally. He was smarter than Maria had expected. Kreshitar moved into the clearing slowly, testing each step. His 4 black eyes scanned for danger. His nostrils flared as he searched for scents that didn't belong. He avoided the first 2 traps perfectly, stepped around the hidden pit without even looking down, somehow sensed the explosive charges in the trees. But he couldn't avoid Maria herself. She dropped from a tree directly onto his back, driving her spear between 2 plates of his armor. The creature roared and spun around, trying to throw her off. Maria held on and drove the spear deeper. Black blood poured from the wound. Crescitar crashed into trees and rolled on the ground, but she wouldn't let go. Finally, the alien leader stopped fighting. He lay on his side, breathing hard. The spear had found something vital. He was dying. But instead of anger, Crescitar made a sound Maria had never heard before. It was almost like laughter, but different. Respectful. "You," he said in his broken English. "Not soft meat. You are hunter." Maria kept the spear ready, but the creature made no move to attack. His blind white eyes stared at her while his good eyes looked at something far away. "Your kind?" he continued slowly. "We were wrong. You are not prey, you are like us." "We're nothing like you," Maria said. "No. You are better." Crescitar coughed up more black blood. "We hunt for sport. You hunt to survive. You hunt to protect pack. This is true hunting." The alien reached into a pouch on his armor and pulled out a small device. He held it toward Maria. "Communication device. Reach our ship in orbit. Tell my people what you did here. Tell them humans are not prey, they are equals." Maria took the device carefully. "Why would you do this?" "Because you earned it. Playing dead to save pack. Learning our language. Becoming hunter to protect pack. You showed us what real predator looks like." Crescitar's breathing grew weaker. "My people will come, but not to hunt. To talk, to learn. You taught us that prey can become predator. Maybe predators can become something else too." The scarred leader closed his eyes and died. Maria stood over the body of her enemy. Around the clearing, her teammates emerged from their hiding places. They had won. The pack was destroyed, and the surviving aliens would carry word back to their people. Humans were no longer prey. They had earned the right to be treated as equals through blood and cunning, and the willingness to do whatever it took to survive. 3 days later, a ship appeared in the sky. Not human, but not hostile either. The aliens who came down to the planet's surface approached with respect instead of arrogance. They wanted to talk. Maria looked at the scar on her leg where this had all started. The predator had smelled her blood and thought she was easy prey. Instead, she had played dead, learned their weaknesses and hunted them down one by one. Now she was Captain Maria Santos, diplomatic liaison between humans and the Vexithara. The species that had once considered humans soft meat now sought them as allies against truly dangerous enemies. Sometimes the greatest victories came not from strength, but from knowing when to play dead and when to bare your teeth. The transport pod shook like a tin can in a hurricane as it broke through Xerion Prime's atmosphere. Maya gripped the restraint harness as lightning struck the pod's hull 3 times in 10 seconds. The small viewport showed her a world covered in storms that made Earth's worst weather look like a gentle breeze. Red lightning split the purple sky while winds that could tear metal apart howled around the falling pod. Below her, jagged mountains of black crystal reached up like the teeth of some giant beast. Between them, forests of silver trees stretched as far as she could see, their metal branches sparking with electricity every time the wind made them touch. The pod's computer spoke in a calm voice that did not match the chaos outside. "Landing in 30 seconds. Warning. Atmospheric conditions exceed safe parameters. Emergency beacon activation recommended." "No beacon," Maya said through gritted teeth. "A beacon would just tell anyone watching that she was here and alive. On a world like this, that information could get her killed fast." The pod hit the ground with a crash that threw Maya against the wall, hard enough to make her see stars. Smoke filled the small space as warning lights flashed red. The computer's voice crackled with static. "Hull breach detected. Life support failing. Recommend immediate evacuation." Maya grabbed her survival pack and kicked open the pod's door. The first thing that hit her was the smell, like burning metal mixed with something dead and rotting. The second thing was the heat. Even though the sky was dark with storm clouds, the air felt like the inside of an oven. She stepped onto ground that crunched under her boots. What she had thought was dirt was actually tiny pieces of crystal mixed with metal shavings. Every step sent up small sparks. In the distance, she could hear sounds that no earth animal had ever made. Roars that shook the ground and screams that cut through the air like knives. The pod behind her exploded as its power core overloaded. The blast threw Maya forward into a patch of the silver trees. She rolled to avoid the sharp branches and came up with cuts on her arms that stung like acid burns. The trees were not just metal. They were some kind of living metal that leaked a burning sap. Maya checked her equipment. The plasma knife worked, which was good because everything else was either broken or useless. Her rations had been crushed in the crash. The emergency shelter kit was scattered across 50 feet of crystal ground. The water recycler still functioned, but barely. She was alone on a world that wanted to kill her with no food, no shelter, and weapons that might not work. Against whatever lived here, most people would have sat down and waited to die. Maya Rodriguez started walking. The storm above her head grew worse as she moved away from the crash site. Lightning struck the crystal mountains every few seconds, sending waves of thunder rolling across the landscape. The sound was so loud it made her ears ring, but she kept moving because staying in one place meant death. After an hour of walking, Maya found her first sign that things lived on this world. Footprints in the crystal sand, each one the size of a dinner plate and shaped like no animal foot she had ever seen. The prints had claws longer than her fingers and they dug deep into the hard ground. She followed the tracks because they led toward a group of rocks that might provide shelter from the storm. The rocks turned out to be the skeleton of something huge that had died here long ago. The bones were made of the same crystal as the mountains, and they hummed with energy that made her skin crawl. Maya was setting up what was left of her shelter when she heard the growling. 6 creatures moved out of the silver forest like shadows made of metal and death. They were the size of earth bears but built like wolves, with crystal fangs that glowed in the stormlight and eyes that burned like small suns. Their fur looked like metal wire and sparked with electricity every time they moved. The pack spread out to surround her, moving with the kind of coordination that spoke of high intelligence. Maya drew her plasma knife and backed against the crystal bones. The weapon hummed to life, its energy blade casting blue light on the approaching predators. The pack leader was bigger than the others, with scars across its metal hide that told stories of fights with things even more dangerous than itself. It approached slowly, its burning eyes locked on Maya's face. She could smell its breath, like hot metal and blood. Maya had fought aliens before, but those had been soldiers with weapons and tactics she understood. These creatures were pure predator, built by evolution to kill anything that moved on this world. They had probably been hunting since before humans discovered fire. The pack leader stopped 3 feet away from her and tilted its massive head. It sniffed the air around her, its nostrils flaring as it caught her scent. Maya held perfectly still, every muscle ready to fight or run. She had maybe 2 seconds before they attacked, but the attack never came. Instead, the pack leader let out a low rumble that sounded almost like recognition. It took a step back and sat on its haunches, never taking its eyes off her face. The other pack members followed its lead, forming a loose circle around her but no longer in attack positions. Maya kept her knife ready but tried to understand what was happening. These creatures had clearly been hunting her. They could have killed her easily with their numbers and size, but something had made them stop. The pack leader stood up and walked closer again. This time its approach felt different, not like a predator stalking prey, but like one dangerous creature acknowledging another. It stopped just outside her weapon's reach and made a sound that was part growl and part something else. Maya realized, with shock, that the sound was respectful. These creatures, these apex predators on a world that killed everything else, were showing her respect. They recognized something in her that made them treat her as an equal rather than prey. Her reputation, as a killer, the very thing that had gotten her exiled here, was keeping her alive. The pack leader turned and walked back toward the forest. The other creatures followed, but slowly, looking back at her as they went. The message was clear. They were not afraid of her, but they were not going to attack her either. She had passed some kind of test she did not even know she was taking. The storm began to fade, and the first pale light of Zirian Prime's sun broke through the clouds. Maya understood that her exile was not just a death sentence. It was something else entirely, a chance to discover what she really was when stripped of everything except her will to survive. The predators of this world had seen something in her that even she did not fully understand yet, but she was going to find out what it was, even if it killed her. 3 weeks had passed since Maya first met the pack of crystal wolves. She had learned to survive on Xerion Prime by watching, learning, and adapting faster than any human should have been able to. The planet demanded perfection or death, and Maya chose perfection. She had built her shelter inside the crystal bone cave, using pieces of her crashed pod to make walls that could keep out the electric storms. The metal trees provided fuel that burned hot enough to cook the strange creatures. She hunted for food. Water came from underground streams that flowed beneath the crystal sand, tasting like copper but clean enough to drink. Maya had named the pack leader Titan because of his massive size and the way he carried himself like a king. The pack followed, her at a distance now, never helping but never leaving either. They watched her hunt, watched her fight, watched her survive things that should have killed her 10 times over. Today she was tracking something new. Footprints in the sand showed a creature that moved like a snake, but left marks like it had claws. The trail led into the crystal caves where the air glowed blue, and the walls hummed with energy that made her teeth ache. The caves went deep into the mountain, twisting and turning through passages that looked like they had been carved by water millions of years ago. Maya moved carefully, her plasma knife ready and her other hand holding a torch made from burning tree sap. The blue glow got brighter as she went deeper. She found the creature's nest in a chamber filled with crystal formations that looked like frozen waterfalls. The chromium serpent was 20 feet long and as thick as her waist, with scales that reflected light like mirrors and eyes that burned like green fire. It had been waiting for her. The serpent struck faster than thought, its fangs dripping with venom that could melt through metal. Maya rolled sideways, feeling the wind from its attack brush her face. The creature's head smashed into the cave wall hard enough to send crystal shards flying like bullets. Maya came up running, using the cave's narrow passages to keep the serpent from using its full length against her. Every time it tried to coil around her, she cut at its scales with her plasma knife, leaving burning wounds that made it scream in anger. The fight lasted 20 minutes and left both of them bleeding. Maya had venom burns on her left arm that felt like fire under her skin. The serpent had cuts along its body that leaked glowing blood onto the cave floor. But Maya had something the serpent did not: the patience to wait for the right moment. When the creature reared back for another strike, Maya threw herself forward instead of away. Her knife went deep into the soft scales under its jaw, finding the brain behind those burning eyes. The serpent thrashed once and then lay still, its blood mixing with hers on the crystal floor. Maya cut out the venom sacs and the heart, both of which would be useful. The venom could coat her weapons to make them deadlier. The heart contained nutrients she needed to stay strong on this world. Nothing went to waste on Xerion Prime. As she worked, she heard footsteps behind her. Titan and his pack had followed her into the caves. The big wolf looked at the dead serpent and then at Maya, his burning eyes showing what might have been approval. He made a low sound that she had learned meant respect. But Titan was not alone. 3 other creatures had come with the pack, and these were different from anything Maya had seen before. They moved on 2 legs like humans but had skin like black metal and claws that could cut through crystal. Their eyes were silver and showed intelligence that was almost human. Maya had heard stories about these creatures from the serpent's memories, something the venom had shown her in dreams. They were called Void Stalkers, and they existed partly in this world and partly in another dimension. They could disappear and reappear anywhere they wanted, making them impossible to fight with normal weapons. One of the stalkers stepped forward and spoke in a voice like grinding metal. "Human, you have killed the guardian of the deep cave. This was not permitted." Maya stood up slowly, her knife still in her hand. "I killed it because it attacked me. I was just hunting for food." The stalker tilted its head. "All who enter the deep cave must face the guardian. Most die, some flee. You are the first to win. This changes things." The other stalkers moved to surround her, But Titan and his pack moved too, placing themselves between Maya and the hunters. The big wolf's message was clear. Maya was under his protection now. The first stalker made a sound like laughing. The metal wolves claim you as pack sister. Interesting. We had heard rumors that the humans were different from other prey species. Perhaps the rumors are true. Maya kept her knife ready but tried to understand what was happening. The creatures of this world had their own rules, their own society. By killing the serpent, she had done something that marked her as more than just another exile dumped here to die. What happens now? Maya asked. The stalker pointed deeper into the caves with one clawed finger. Now you face the real test. The deep cave has guardians that make the serpent look like a child's pet. If you can reach the bottom and return alive, you will have earned your place in the hierarchy. Maya looked at Titan, who was watching her with those burning eyes. The big wolf made a sound that meant he would follow her wherever she went. The rest of the pack felt the same way. Somehow, in 3 weeks on this Deathworld, she had earned the loyalty of creatures that had never served anyone. The stalkers began to fade, becoming transparent as they shifted between dimensions. The first one spoke one last time before disappearing completely. "We will be watching, human. Do not disappoint us." Maya was alone with the pack in the crystal cave, looking at a passage that led deeper into the mountain than she had ever gone. Every instinct told her that going down there would probably kill her. But every instinct also told her that backing down would be worse than death. She had come to Xerion Prime as a prisoner sentenced to die alone and forgotten. But she was becoming something else. A predator that even the apex predators respected. The hierarchy of this world was accepting her not as prey but as something that belonged here. Maya picked up her torch and started walking toward the deeper caves. Behind her, Titan and his pack followed without question. Whatever waited in the darkness ahead, she would face it with allies she had never expected to find. The Deathworld was teaching her what she really was underneath all the human civilization and military training. She was a hunter, a killer, a creature built to survive no matter what tried to destroy her. And for the first time since arriving on Xerion Prime, Maya smiled. Maya had been walking deeper into the crystal caves for 6 hours when she found the ancient door. It was made of black metal covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly, and it stood 30 feet tall in a chamber that felt older than human civilization. The air around it moved like it was alive, and touching the metal made her skin burn with cold fire. Titan and his pack had stopped following her an hour ago. Even the Void Stalkers, who could exist in multiple dimensions at once, would not come this deep into the mountain. Maya was alone in a place that predators older than her species considered too dangerous to enter. The symbols on the door told a story in pictures that made sense, even though she had never seen the language before. They showed creatures hunting, across worlds, fighting battles between the stars, and something large and terrible that watched over it all. At the center of the door was an image that made her blood run cold. A human figure standing among monsters that knelt before it. Maya pressed her hand against the door and felt it respond to her touch. The metal grew warm, and the symbols began to glow with light that came from inside the metal itself. Ancient gears turned with sounds like breaking bones, and the door opened to show her a tunnel that led even deeper into the planet's core. She walked for another 2 hours through tunnels that glowed with their own light. The walls were covered with more symbols, and these told her the real story of Xerion Prime. It was not just a random death world where criminals were sent to die. It was a testing ground that had been used for millions of years to find beings worthy of joining something called the hierarchy of death. The tunnel ended at a chamber so large that her torch could not reach the other side. In the center stood a pillar of pure energy that stretched from the floor to a ceiling lost in darkness above. Around the pillar, the air shimmered like water, and Maya could see shapes moving inside the energy that her eyes could not quite focus on. "You have come far for such a young species," said a voice that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Most never make it past the surface guardians. Fewer still survive the deep cave trials. But you are here, in the heart of our world, where only the worthy may stand." Maya drew her plasma knife, though she knew it would be useless against whatever was speaking to her. Show yourself. I am tired of riddles and tests. The energy pillar pulsed brighter, and something stepped out of it that made Maya understand why even the Void Stalkers feared this place. The Omega Hunter was 12 feet tall and built like a nightmare made real. Its body shifted between solid matter and pure energy, sometimes looking like black metal, and sometimes like living shadow. Its eyes were stars that had died and been reborn as something hungry. I am the guardian of this place, the Omega Hunter said. I am the one who decides who may join the hierarchy and who must die. For 1,000,000 years I have tested those who seek to prove their worth. You are the first human to reach this chamber. Maya kept her knife ready even though she knew it was pointless. What is the hierarchy of death? The Omega Hunter moved closer, its footsteps making no sound on the crystal floor. We are those who have transcended our original forms. We are predators who have earned the right to hunt across worlds and between stars. We maintain the balance that keeps lesser species from destroying themselves and others. Images flashed in Maya's mind. Wars between species that had raged for thousands of years, planets burned to ash by weapons that could crack moons, civilizations that had grown so soft they could not defend themselves against threats from the dark between stars. The hierarchy existed to prevent such disasters by removing the most dangerous elements before they could spread. The galaxy sees your species as too violent to be trusted, the Omega Hunter continued. But violence is not evil when it serves to protect. Your trial on this world has shown us that humans possess something rare, the ability to earn respect from true predators while maintaining loyalty to those they protect. Maya thought about her crew on the UES Defiance, probably still fighting to clear her name. She thought about Jake Sullivan and his promise to find a way to save her. Even after months on this world, she still felt responsible for keeping them safe. What happens if I pass your test? Maya asked. The Omega Hunter reached out with one clawed hand that could have crushed her skull like an egg. Instead, it touched her forehead gently, and Maya felt knowledge flow into her mind like water into a dry riverbed. She saw the truth about the galaxy, the threats that moved in the darkness between stars, the ancient enemies that waited for civilized species to grow weak enough to conquer. If you join us, you will become something more than human, the Omega Hunter said. You will carry our knowledge and our purpose. You will be the bridge between your species and helping to prepare humanity for the battles that are coming. Some knowledge hurt like fire in her brain, but Maya did not pull away. She saw fleets of ships moving through space toward the galaxy's outer rim. She saw creatures that fed on entire solar systems and left nothing but empty space behind. She saw a war coming that would make every conflict in human history look like children playing with toys. My people think I am dead, Maya said. The tribunal that sent me here believes humans are too violent to be trusted with power. The Omega Hunter made a sound like laughing, but there was no humor in it. The tribunal serves those who would rather see the galaxy burn than admit they need warriors to protect it. Your exile was arranged by beings who fear what humanity could become if given the chance to grow. Maya felt anger building in her chest, like a fusion reactor going critical. She had been betrayed not just by alien judges, but by creatures who would rather sacrifice innocent lives than face the truth about what was coming. If I accept your offer, can I go back? Maya asked. Can I warn my people about what is heading toward us? The Omega Hunter stepped back and gestured toward the energy pillar. Join with us, and you will carry the power to do much more than warn them. You will carry the power to prepare them for war. Maya looked at the pillar of pure energy that would either transform her into something beyond human understanding or kill her in ways too terrible to imagine. Either way, she would never be the same person who had been sentenced to die on this world. But Maya Rodriguez had never backed down from a fight that mattered, and this was the fight that would determine whether humanity survived the coming darkness or joined the countless species that had already been consumed by it. She walked toward the energy pillar without looking back. The energy pillar felt like being struck by lightning while drowning in liquid fire. Maya's body dissolved and reformed 1,000 times in the space of a heartbeat as the Omega Hunter's power rewrote every cell in her body. She screamed until her voice gave out, then screamed in frequencies no human throat could make. When the transformation ended, Maya stood in the chamber changed in ways that went deeper than flesh and bone. Her eyes could see across multiple dimensions at once. Her mind could process information at speeds that would have driven her insane before. Most importantly, she could feel every predator on Xerion Prime as clearly as her own heartbeat. The Omega Hunter watched her with something that might have been pride. You have joined the hierarchy, but you remain human at your core. This makes you unique among us. You will be the bridge between your species and the ancient powers that guard the galaxy. Maya flexed her hands and watched energy dance between her fingers. She was still herself, but she was also something more. The knowledge of 1,000,000 years flowed through her mind like a river of starlight. She knew about threats that moved between galaxies and wars that had been fought before Earth's sun was born. How do I get home? Maya asked. The Omega Hunter gestured toward the chamber wall, which opened to show her a view of space above Xerion Prime. 3 ships hung in orbit around the planet, 2 Veltar warships and 1 human vessel she recognized immediately. Your people have come for you, the Omega Hunter said. The Veltar seek to destroy evidence of their crimes. Your crew seeks to rescue someone they believe is already dead. Both will be surprised by what they find. Maya could feel Titan and his pack waiting for her in the tunnels above. The crystal wolves had sensed her transformation and were coming to see what their pack sister had become. Behind them, every predator on the planet was moving toward the mountain. They knew their world had a new alpha. Maya walked through the mountain faster than any human should have been able to move. The tunnels bent around her will, making the journey that had taken hours now take minutes. She emerged from the caves to find hundreds of creatures waiting for her in the crystal desert. Titan sat at the front of the gathering, his burning eyes fixed on Maya with respect that bordered on worship. Behind him stood void stalkers, chromium, serpents and predators she had never seen before. All of them recognized what she had become, the apex predator of a world built to create apex predators. Above them, the 3 ships were preparing for battle. Maya could hear the communications between them through her enhanced senses. Captain Jake Sullivan was demanding the right to search for her body. The Veltar commanders were insisting that the planet was too dangerous, and that any search would end in more deaths. Maya looked up at the ships and smiled. It was time to go home. She reached out with her new abilities and touched the minds of every predator gathered around her. The message she sent was simple. Follow me. Protect me. Show them what we are. The creatures responded with roars that shook the crystal mountains and made the metal trees ring like bells. The Veltar ships detected the energy surge from the surface and began charging their weapons. These were the same weapons that had been used to destroy human colonies, the same technology that had made the alien tribunal believe they could judge humanity without consequences. Maya rose into the air surrounded by a storm of predators that defied every law of physics the galaxy understood. Void stalkers phased in and out of reality around her. Crystal wolves ran on paths of solid light. Serpents moved through space like they were swimming through water. All of them followed Maya as she flew toward the ships. The Veltar opened fire, with weapons that could crack planets. The energy beams struck Maya and were absorbed into her transformed body, making her glow brighter instead of destroying her. She reached out and touched the hulls of both alien ships with power that came from the core of Xerion Prime itself. The ship's systems failed instantly. Emergency lights flickered and died. Artificial gravity stopped working. Life support systems began shutting down one by one. In the space of 30 seconds, the most advanced warships in the Veltar fleet became floating coffins. Maya entered the UES Defiance through the cargo bay, her feet touching metal deck plates for the first time in 6 months. The ship felt small and fragile compared to the crystal caves where she had been living. Her crew was waiting for her in the main corridor, weapons drawn and faces showing fear mixed with hope. Jake Sullivan stepped forward first, his eyes wide as he took in what Maya had become. She still looked human, but energy danced under her skin like captured lightning and her eyes held depths that went beyond anything terrestrial. Maya, Jake said, his voice barely a whisper. Is that really you? Maya smiled and for a moment, She was just the officer he had served with for 8 years. "Hello, Jake. Sorry I am late getting back." Amy Foster dropped her weapon and ran to embrace Maya, then stopped when she felt the energy radiating from her friend's body. "What did they do to you down there?" "They showed me what I was meant to become," Maya said. "And they showed me what is coming for all of us." Maya shared with her crew the knowledge she had gained. The threats moving toward human space, the ancient enemies that fed on entire civilizations, the war that would determine whether humanity survived or joined the countless extinct species that had failed their own tests. Jake listened to everything, his face growing grimmer with each revelation. When Maya finished, he was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke the words that would change everything. "What do you need us to do?" Maya looked at her crew, these humans who had risked their lives to save someone they thought was already dead. She thought about the tribunal that had sentenced her to exile, not knowing they were creating exactly what the galaxy needed to survive what was coming. "We go home," Maya said. "We prepare our people for war, and we show the galaxy what humans can become when they stop apologizing for being what they are." Outside the ship, the predators of Xerion Prime waited in the darkness between stars. They had found their alpha, and they would follow her across the galaxy if needed. The Deathworld that was supposed to be Maya's grave had instead become the birthplace of something the universe had never seen before. Humanity's exile was over. Their ascension had begun.